Thanks, Adam. We're here with cooking coach Adam Wisnewski from Breakfast, Life, and Dinner. We got the gloves on today because we're about to get our hands into some dough.
That's right. We're going to make some bread today. It's going to make a quick bread. This is a focaccia that you can make at home just on any evening you want. It's going to be less than 30 minutes from start to finish, from flour to table.
So you're telling me we can make our own homemade bread half an hour or less?
That's right. That's right.
And with ingredients that most people already have?
Yeah. And that's, I tell people all the time that bread is flour and water, right? If you want a good bread, you'll add a little salt. And if you want a risen bread, you can add some yeast. But we've been making bread with the flour and the water for about 10,000 years. And so we've added
yeast.
yeast.
Changed.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. And then the yeast has been around for about 4,000 years. So what we're going to do is we're going to take basically 2-to-1 mix. We're going to take some water, and it's going to be about 100 degrees.
Warm, so that's warm to hot water.
Yeah, so, water that's about where you take, if you put your finger in there, it's about where you take a shower, 100 degrees.
Yeah, feels like
if you put your finger in there and you yank it out, that's too hot. And if you put your finger in there, you're like, man, it's pretty cool, then that's too cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the yeast in the water.
Okay.
And I might, usually I might give that a second or two to, a couple minutes to see if it blooms. And I have this superstition when I'm going into a client's home, I always use 2 sources of yeast because I have one chance to make the yeast rise. So I'll use a package and I'll use a little bit from a jar. So I have 2 sources of yeast to make sure that that's going to give me the rise that I need.
So we have packaged yeast and the jar.
Yeah, that's just a superstition that I have.
Both different kinds, so you just went ahead and used both.
Right. And so then, once that starts to bloom, you can see it start to foam after a couple minutes. I would go ahead and I would add the salt because the salt can impede the blooming of the yeast. So you want to wait till the last minute to add the salt. And then, so that's about 1 cup of flour, or 1 cup of water. I'm add about 2 cups of flour.
Okay.
And then I've got extra water and flour on the side there just in case if I need to change the proportion.
Okay.
And so then I'm going to keep one hand gooky for the kneading of the dough and one hand clean. So go ahead and just grab that and start kneading it around.
Kneading it, okay.
Yeah. And so when you're using the dough, you're just going to keep moving that water around till it's all mixed up. And by the time all of the dough pulls off of your fingers, that's about when the dough is ready to go.
Okay.
So while you're doing that, we're going to make it into focaccia bread.
So right now what we have with just this mixture is plain old bread.
Plain old bread. You can turn that into a boule or a baguette or a pizza, whatever you want. So I'm going to add a little oil to the mix.
Okay.
A little cornmeal, because I like that for texture.
Okay.
A little sugar to add to boost the yeast growth.
Always a fan of that.
And then for the herb bread, then I've got about a tablespoon of oregano and a half a tablespoon of basil.
So that's going to give it the focaccia flavor.
That's going to, right. The oil as well is going to help give it that structure, that a little bit of a texture that you need. So I'm going to add a little more flour there.
I think it's a little too wet?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, it can end up being 2.5 cups of flour. And so you're just going to keep mixing that and mixing and mixing. And so by the time you are ready there, we'll put it into a pan. So because we're doing it so quick, we're not going to let it rise and then punch it down and then let it rise again. We're going to do a single rise for just a couple of minutes. And you can use, you could use the toaster oven pan, which
and that's what you have there is
right. We're just going to put it in the toaster oven. You could put it into a silver pan, which might conduct heat a little bit less than a dark pan. So there's all these different techniques that you can try. But what I've got here is an oiled and cornmealed dark pan. This is the one I use for my focaccia all the time.
Okay.
Right. And so I'm going to once we get the dough to the point where we want it, I'm going to put some more flour in there.
Okay.
Once we get the dough to where we want it, I'm just going to put it into the pan, let it rise for 3 or 4 minutes, and then throw it in the oven for 15 to 17 minutes.
And so we are using a toaster oven today, but if you don't have a toaster oven, can you make this in your regular oven?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, the only reason I'm using the toaster oven is, well, the 2 reasons is 1, it's funny, and two, on a hot day, you don't want to heat up the entire kitchen necessarily with starting the oven, and this is a nice way to just make the bread itself in a box of heat without heat in the house.
Absolutely. So how does this look so far?
Not too bad. It's coming along. So, so you've got lots of stuff still on the sides of the bowls. You got lots of stuff still on your hands. So you're just going to keep kneading it until the bowl is clean and it comes off of your fingers.
Okay. And then we just dump it in the pan?
Yeah. And then we'll just dump it in the pan.
So we'll continue with this, and then when we come back for the second segment, we should have a finished project.
I'm going to go ahead and turn on the toaster oven, and we'll pop that in there in just a second.
Okay. We will be right back with more of the morning show, and we'll check back in with you in a few minutes to see how this turns out.